Hi, Fidel here. Well, we're going to be making pizza for lunch tomorrow, so today I'm going to make some pizza dough. It's going to be roughly 24 hours until we actually use this dough. So this is a recipe that I recommend for a home oven. So let's take a look at my home oven here. It's the standard oven. Okay, now I do have a baking steel, but I'm going to show you how to make a pizza without a baking steel, without a baking stone. I'm going to show you how to make a good pizza. And all you need is to have your standard oven rack. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Well, you'll need your standard oven rack, and you're going to need some kind of pizza-shaped pan or something like that. You can use anything you have that's similar to this, but we'll be using those kind of things, and I'll show you how to make a pizza in home oven. So let's go over here and take a look at the recipe. The recipe is very simple, very easy. I like to measure out everything I'm going to be using beforehand and keep it in their separate containers. And the reason I like to do that is so I don't forget anything and I don't make any mistakes. So what we have here is the easy recipe is half a kilogram of flour. So this bag is half full. That's 1 kilogram, and this is half full, and I already know this is 500 grams. Okay, and so how much water? So this is going to be a 70% hydrated dough. We put lots of water in a dough, a lot more water in a dough that you're going to do in your home oven. You're going to find that's going to give you better results, because the longer cooking times means more evaporation, and the more it evaporates, the harder your crust is going to be. It's not going to be tender. It's not going to be chewy. It's not going to have any a good texture if you don't put enough water. So we upped it to about 70%. Usually we go at about 63 to 65% hydration for Neapolitan pizza doughs that we make outside in a wood-fired oven, but those have baking times of under 90 seconds. So we're going to be baking for approximately 5 minutes, so we're going to jack up the water to 70%. Now it's going to be an easy recipe to remember. Half a kilogram of flour, 365 grams of water. Okay, now 365 grams of water. Actually, we're adding 14 grams of whole wheat flour, but I'll explain that in a moment. But in total, 365 days in a year. It's easy to remember. 365 days in a year, 365 grams of water, half a kilogram of bread flour. Bread flour is high protein, which is what you want for your home oven. And I have half a teaspoon of yeast. Now I'm going a little bit higher on the yeast because we want a lot more activity for your home baking when you're baking in a home oven, because this is not a Neapolitan dough. It's not going to get the same quick oven spring as it would in a wood-fired oven. So don't be afraid of using more yeast. So this is actually a lot of yeast for this much pizza dough. I don't even use this much for 7 kilos worth of pizza dough when I'm doing an event. This is a lot of yeast, but we want a lot of activity here, so that's about a half teaspoon of instant dry yeast. We're going to add sugar. This is about a teaspoon and a little more than a teaspoon, about a teaspoon and a quarter of brown sugar. Now this is going to help. Sugar helps with the browning. Again, this is not going to be cooked in a wood-fired oven. A wood-fired oven has intense flames, which give you all those little charred marks, the leoparding on the outer rim. But you're not going to get that in home oven. Home ovens only go to, say, 500, 550 degrees at most, whereas your wood-fired oven can hit 1,900 to 1,000 degrees. So, well, this is going to help with a little bit of a browning on the outside. Then we're going to add 14 grams of whole wheat flour. This is going to help to give it a little bit more of a nuttier taste, a better flavor. So you'll find that if you don't add the wheat flour, you can make the pizza just fine. It's going to come out nice, but you're going to have more of a sweeter bready flavor then when you add flour, you get it starts to give it more of a rustic, nutty flavor. So that's just added a little bit. You won't see a big difference. It'll change the crumb color a little bit, slightly, but not too much. But it's going to be a great pizza. And finally, 14 grams of sea salt. Okay, so first we're going to dump in our yeast, and we're going to go ahead and mix that in by hand. Just kind of dissolve that around. I like to keep one of these handy because it makes for cleaning up and keeping all your dough together quite easy. So, okay, so that's pretty much dissolved. Let's move over here in the light. I see a little bit better. Okay. Next, I'm going to add my wheat flour, and I'm going to add a little more than half of the flour. I'll save some out here, and add the sugar. So it didn't come up. Just pull some of it out there. Okay, just kind of. This just gives the yeast a little bit of a head start before you add the salt in. But you know, at this amount of yeast, we're putting enough yeast in here. We're going to get plenty of action. So go ahead and add my salt. So I'm not really kneading so much. I'm just kind of squeezing it all together. It's going to be a really wet dough. Don't be afraid of it. You can see how pasty it is there. So I'm just kind of squeezing all this together. I'm going to add most of the rest of the flour, but I'm going to save just a little bit there at the bottom for cleaning up at the end here. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so again, we're going to just kind of squeeze that together. Oops. Splash some off to the side. And the purpose of this squeezing motion is just to evenly distribute the moisture before we start kneading. So that's a kind of a two-step thing that I like to do. I like to distribute the moisture first, is step one, and then kneading is step two, where we start to add the texture. We start to develop the texture and the crumb. So start kneading a bit now. Okay. So this is natural. Don't be afraid of this happening. It's going to happen, especially for a very, very wet dough. But don't be afraid of it. Just okay. That's why we use this. We can, from time to time, scrape most of it off. Doesn't all have to come off yet, but So in the beginning, kneading with the fingertips is the easiest. Later we'll be using this part of the hand for the kneading motion, but for right now, just using the tips of the fingers because it's easier to get the sticky dough off of it. Remember, this is 70% hydrated, so it's a lot of water in there. So I'm kind of putting a lot of pressure on it now, using some power to really it's starting to come together now.
point, it doesn't even have all the flour in it yet, but it's already starting to look pretty good. So what we're going to do here is just like all my other videos, we're just going to clean off my hands, clean up the bowl a little bit, and we're going to give this a rest. So remember, I kept some flour here, so go ahead and dump the rest of it. Okay, pretty clean, I think. Use the scraper, get everything off the side of the bowl. We're going to leave that sitting here about 8 minutes maybe, okay? I'm going to cover it up and we'll leave it for 8 minutes. Okay, so this has been resting about 10 minutes. I think it went a little bit over, so I'm just going to loosen that up, okay? And let's go ahead and knead that with the heel of my hand now. It's sticky still, okay. Fingers real quick, get it working. It's hard to turn a little bit more smooth. It's still incredibly wet, so let's take it out. Some stitches and folds. So it's pretty sticky, but that's good. It's going to be great dough. Okay, so it's still looking kind of patchy though, but I think it's come together quite nicely. So I'm going to give it one more rest. And the last we're going to do with it is just bring it into a nice smooth ball. It's not really necessary to keep kneading it. It's got all the kneading it needs. So put that back in here, let that patchy thing rest. Remember, it's very wet, so it should look like this. So this is exactly what you need at this point. So put the cover back on. I'm going to rest for another 8 or 10 minutes. We'll be right back. Okay, so this has been resting another about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to take this out, and remember, we there's no need to do any more kneading. I think that's plenty. So we're just going to shape this into somewhat of a ball here, and we're going to divide it out. Normally, if this is for some event or something, I'm going to measure the dough into equally weighted dough balls, but in this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to separate it into 3 dough balls as evenly as I can just eyeball it. So as you can see, even though it's really a wet piece of dough, it's come together quite nicely. It's nice and smooth. So this is, I'm just kind of tucking it in under itself, and it's getting that kind of nice smooth texture. So what we got here is just that dough ball there. I can use this one, but I prefer to use the steel one. So stainless steel one. So I'm gonna put right down there. Let's see. This one's a little bit lighter than this one, so I'll just take a little bit off that, and that. And this one seems a little bit heavier, so we got 3 dough balls, roughly the same shape. So I'm going to olive oil 3 bowls. A little bit more here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and shape these. So shape this style too, but okay, that is shaped. So I'm going to put them in upside down at first. We're going to move those in a minute. Very, very wet dough. You know, this seems to be a little bit smaller, so my attempt at eyeballing perfection is not perfect, but this is just for family to eat. So now I'm going to roll the dough ball around and then put it right side up. This one. Around. The olive oil is kind of coating the edge of the bowl, and that's it. I'm going to cover these with Saran wrap, and that's gonna be sitting overnight at room temperature until roughly around 12:30 in the afternoon tomorrow. So that's it for now for this part 1 video. Stay tuned for part 2, and we'll see you for lunch.